Welcome to Chapter 13, Exercise 13.2, Sentence 1. Chapter 13 is about relative clauses, and we have a relative clause in this sentence. The guest whose watch was stolen left the party. So let's do the preliminaries, and then we can figure out what we want to do after that. Create an S, declaration. Now, the important thing to note here is that the guest whose watch was stolen is the entire NP subject. So that includes an MP plus a relative clause. And relative clause, as you know from reading chapter 13, takes an S. So first of all, we're going to embed all of this in a larger NP. And then that NP is going to consist of you can do it in a couple of ways. We could actually embed an NP within an NP. I don't see anything problem with that. Then we can say article, determiner, guest is an N, subject, and then subject. Now we have this thing called whose watch was stolen. That has to be an S. It's still dominated by the NP. So how do we diagram it further? So the whose is it's a possessive pronoun. It's also a determiner, because we know possessive pronouns can be determiners. So we want to say, this is just like a sentence. We know sentences contain NPs and predicate phrases, so we can say NP, and that also is a subject. Whose is a pronoun. It's a possessive pronoun, but I don't think we need to talk about that or do much about that here. Determiner, and then the watch is a subject, an N, that's a subject. And now was stolen is itself a predicate phrase underneath the S. So that's what we get there. And then was is a passive auxiliary. So we're going to put here, this is an aux. This is passive. This is the lexical verb, which is the verb, and then this is the predicate, as we know. So now we're closing the S, and now we have another predicate phrase, and this is actually the predicate of the main clause, which is left the party. Okay, so now we know left is the main verb, and actually it could be VP NP. So this is, we could make it VP and then V if we want to, and then the party is a noun phrase, and so V is an article. The determiner, and then party is a noun, and it's also a direct object, as we know. This is also, the party is a direct object. Left the party is the predicate of the main clause. And actually we have two predicates because we have a VP and a V. So each form gets a function. And then we have was stolen. Was stolen is the predicate of the relative clause. And then we have the watch, which is the subject of the predicate clause, the relative clause, sorry. And now we have this S, which is whose watch was stolen, the guest whose watch was stolen, and that's the whole relative clause, that entire S. And what is the function of that? The guest whose watch was stolen, we would think that would be good question. I'm going to leave it to you to figure out what we should call that function. You can maybe leave that as an exercise. All right. And then this is the subject. So this is whose watch. So this is the subject of the relative clause. That seems pretty. Actually, I think we probably would call this relative clause a modifier of guest. How many of you actually thought that before? I think that's what it is. This is a relative clause that's modifying the noun guest. Okay. Just want you to see how building these things you have to reason through. Left the party. Still here. What's this? This is the whole predicate phrase. Left the party, so that's another predicate. Okay? I think we're done.